Hey guys, so I'm a bit late on the story. I don't know where my motivation has gone. No one cares. Subscribe with the bell icon for engagement. Let's just get into it. So today we have the Tana Mongeau versus Joey Graceffa versus Rosanna Pansino versus Trisha Paytas drama. Everyone's beefing, but everyone's kind of on everyone's side. It's a bit complicated, so I'm here to break it down with clips so you know what's going on and you're all caught up. We have Tana first calling out Joey Graceffa, but actually, I'm going to preface this and say she didn't actually really call him out. She called out the people working on his set, but she made it very clear that she wasn't calling him out. And yet, we still have people getting butthurt. She couldn't have really been more respectful about it while just telling her side of the story, okay? So this is on an episode a while back on Cancelled. She talks about it on this episode with Paige and Brooke. Paige is being stalked by her crazy neighbor, episode 107 from 2 months ago.
Okay, speaking of not being safe around a man. As you know, I have been on my side quest journey of a century lately. I'm back in that era. I feel like I go through phases where I have a couple months where I've just accidentally said yes to everything and I find myself, you know what I mean, just on the most random side quests of life, right?
Yeah.
And a while ago, an old friend of mine hit me up to be a part of this project, right? And I'm not going to say who, in hopes to keep the identity of all of this concealed, but I'm sure people will find out. And what I want to say is, if people find out, if you do find out, don't go send hate, because this isn't anyone that you would know's fault. You know what I mean? I really want to, the person who I did this project with and for, I love so much. So I feel even guilty, associating this, with his name and with his whatever. And I've debated telling the story on the podcast all week, but I just hate men and I cannot believe this happened to me. So whatever, I'm going to tell it, but it has.
So this was on the set of the Escape the Night that Joey does, and this isn't on YouTube Premium anymore, if that makes sense. It's his own thing that he wanted to sell to a show that he's just doing again with a bunch of kind of favorite characters that he's had on, and Tana was supposed to be one of them. Now, she says this is not Joey's fault, okay? So she says that. She says it's not his fault, it's the people that are working on set. She then spends, to be fair, a considerable amount of time talking about the fact that she didn't go to sleep on time, had to wake up and get there at 9 a.m. with a full beat, was put in uncomfortable clothes, and then had to do a 12-hour set day, which all of that is just typical Tana Mongeau complaining, but it is not really that valid to the story. A lot of people have to start work at 9 a.m. most sooner. A lot of people work 12-hour shifts, and they're not just filming for an amazing show. So all of this is kind of just I take it as the typical Tana Mongeau complaining that we know her for. She's not someone that loves to wake up early. She's not someone that loves to work long hours. She's not someone who likes to do all of that stuff, right? And she just says that she had to drive to downtown LA, which she hates. She hates downtown. Everyone's got their opinions. So I'm going to skip this part of the story because it's, like I said, it's just typical Tana Mongeau complaining, which kind of come across as really entitled and just a bit bratty, but it's part of the story, I guess.
A million things going on, all the departments, all the things. I'm very happy to be a part of it again. But even just being on set, I feel one in every 30 set days that I have, you walk in and the production company is all men from the rickets of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, rickets is not a thing, but Tana does this thing where she picks a word that she likes without actually kind of knowing what it means, and then repeats it 10 times in an episode, and then we will find out that that word doesn't mean what she thinks it means. So she's gonna say rickets a few times, and it's not what she thinks it means. I think she meant a version of the word rickety, kind of shitty, kind of but rickets is not a version of rickety.
It's just my neighbor.
It's just again, 90% of the time you'll be on a set with all men and they're all very just normal, younger, they're a vibe, they're respectful, even just audio guys putting stuff on you, they're gonna ask you, they're gonna make sure you're comfortable, whatever. These men from this production company just weren't giving that. And it was just very creepy.
So once again, I'm emphasizing she is not blaming this on Joey. She's quite clear on the fact that she's not blaming this on Joey without obviously saying his name, because at the time she didn't want to say his name. She is blaming it purely on the production company, which Joey wouldn't have known how this production company would behave until the day had come, right?
The vibes with every interaction I had with every single person, just the mic guy, it was he's not asking me, he's all up in my guts, he's very weird, heavy breathing, complimenting me. I do appreciate a compliment, but it's weird when you're underground in a basement and the men are you look so beautiful today, Tana, and they look like a gremlin, and you're my phone's on SOS, and it's just
time and place.
No one's around. Paige is upstairs, she can't be with us shooting, so and my phone's on SOS. I'm just what the fuck. And so eventually I have a little side quest. Okay, I'm solo from everyone else that I'm filming with, right? And I'm already just 4 hours into this, and the energy of the whole thing of what is being made is also very much not things that I'm normally doing. I'm screaming and I'm running and I'm physically exerting myself in so many ways that I normally wouldn't be.
Yeah.
And so I'm just dead. And finally I have a little side quest, right? And so along with the hired production crew, there's hired actors, right? And all of these hired actors are wearing masks, scary, like horror nights, like horror actors almost, right? And so I have this little side quest with one of these horror actors, okay? And so I get dragged into a freezer, okay? A meat freezer. There's like things hanging from like the ceiling, like whole nine.
Never that.
And there's a camera on me getting dragged by this man. And then they're like, okay, your next scene is that you're going to be chained to the ceiling. So now I'm standing there getting chained to the ceiling at 11 a.m. downtown in a gown with a corset in a meat freezer with my phone on SOS and it's 40 degrees. And I'm like, you're lying. You're lying. What do you mean I'm being chained to the ceiling in a meat freezer in a gown right now at 9 a.m. downtown and this YouTuber just smoked their dead parent? What do you mean? Okay.
Okay, it's also really important to mention and a YouTuber smoked their parent. That's obviously about Rosanna Pansino. She says the story without naming Rosanna, but she makes a lot of jokes about the fact that Rosanna's been going around saying that she's smoking her dead father in a blunt with weed. Now that gets misconstrued a lot. So that's how the story, basically, whenever you read like an article about it or like a tweet about it, people are saying she was smoking her dead dad. What happened was she was smoking a plant that grew from where she sprinkled her dead father's ashes, if that makes sense. So it's not like she's directly like putting her dead father into a blunt. She's put that into the ground, and then from there grew the plant, and then she took that plant and she smoked it. So it's kind of like a more roundabout way, but the way the tweets, and I guess the way she's been saying it kind of for laughs and giggles, is like, I smoked my dead father. So I can see why Tana's already like, if she was already in a bit of a mood, she's like, what is actually going on? But obviously this is a point that comes back later on to be like more offensive than it is.
And so then the camera guy walks away, and now I'm just in this freezer, chained to the ceiling with a man in a horror mask, right?
I'm also so sorry that I keep on yawning. It is 11 p.m. I don't know why I do this to myself.
And he starts talking to me, and he's like, hey, I'm JJ. And I'm all,
hey.
hi, JJ. I'm Tana. Like, literally chained to the ceiling. I'm like, this is kind of creepy. Like, now there's no cameras. Like, the set, it was huge down there as well. So, like, the nearest people were, like, 25, 30 feet away, whatever, right? And this man looks at me, I swear to God, through the mask. I don't know what he looks like. And he looks at me and he says, this is my dream, having you chained up.
No.
This is my dream, having you chained up.
So I would scream
and
out
then he
loud.
goes, perfect. And I'm so, and then I just look at him, and I mean, again, arms, I'm chained up. I'm in a hot pink kitten heel. I'm livid. I turn to him and I go, what the did you just say? And he looks at me and he goes, nothing. Like, it was better you didn't hear it anyway. And I'm like, I heard you.
Wait, what?
I heard you. I'm in this meat freezer. And this man, whatever. And then he's just like laughing.
So she says that story, and then she says a bit further about how he like broke her finger. That was a slight exaggeration, but he injured her finger.
He comes up to grab this other influencer away, and I have my hand on her shoulder, okay? And he's wearing these like big like mitts, like prosthetic. It's not like human hands, you know what I mean? And he slams his hand hardest on her shoulder, and my hand is on her shoulder, and my pinky inverts. My pinky inverts, okay? Mind you, everyone is screaming because like someone's getting taken away. So now I'm like, ah! Like at the top of my lungs because he just broke my pinky. The same man who literally assaulted me in a freezer just broke my pinky, and no one even knows I'm in pain because like everyone else everyone is screaming. Everyone thinks that. Put that on my IMDb, okay?
So that's basically the gist of the story. I don't have to show you guys much more. Then Joey Graceffa goes on Just Trish, and allegedly on the same day she interviewed Joey as she did Tana. So Joey came in the morning and then Tana came in the afternoon. So when she asked Joey about the story, she was then able to follow up straight after with Tana, which she did say to him that she was going to follow up with Tana for that. So this is the clip. Now I scrolled through the episode and I just couldn't find it, but I found a clip of it on TikTok. This always happens to me. Like, I could literally watch it, not even like skip through it, and I will miss it if I'm looking for something, but if I'm not looking for it, then I'll find it. But anyway, so I've got it on TikTok. Oh, I'm doing this like roundabout way because it was on Do We Know Them, but it's like, what a roundabout way, like not even the episode. What times have we come to that I'm like watching Do We Know Them on TikTok so I can get a clip that they reacted to.
Yeah, we're never shady. It's just more like, oh, no. Joey, they're having us get the night.
When Tana brought it up on her podcast, I was like, honestly,
never mind, you did.
whatever. Like, she can complain. Like, it's just bringing attention to the project.
Yeah,
so.
Can I ask her about it then here?
Sure.
So he says, it's just bringing attention to the project, and she says, can I ask her about it? And he says, yeah. That's a very flippant way of addressing something that can be seen as sexual harassment on set. Just an interesting way to address that, I guess. I was just bringing attention to the project. She always exaggerates everything. Like, that's just the way he reacted to it. Now, Tana then goes on Just Trish, and they talk about it.
People. And he had like no training in it or anything, and he's like, that's what kind of traumatized him. But
That's
we
crazy.
did talk about Escape the Night.
I mean, listen, okay.
How's your finger? Which I didn't know that more to it.
My finger's good. Okay.
He's like, well, she went out. I was like, well, she could go out with broken fingers as long as she broke her leg.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, dude. So I love Escape the Night. I always have. I have such a special place in my heart for it, and I will always be so grateful to Joey Graceffa because he put me on the cast of Escape the Night when it was huge with YouTube very mainstream billboards, mainstream media. Like, so many millions of people were watching it. Everyone else who was in that cast was much more esteemed, taken seriously, established as a YouTuber. He took a chance on a crazy Vegas girl, you know, and like, and then he continued to bring me back. There were times on set where I would be crying over people being mean to me, and he would pull me aside and always be really nice. He dealt with me at that time too. Like, I wasn't on time. I wasn't the best, and like, even just like VidCon wouldn't invite me, and then like I got to go with Escape the Night, like
So
just
cool.
and it is like I have chill thinking about it. It was a very pivotal point of my life, and like I'm obviously just always down to pay homage to the niche things that the fans love as well. Like I
Yeah.
get tagged in Escape the Night edits every day, so I have nothing but love for him and the whole series and stuff. But obviously he asked me to do this new Escape the Night, and it's no longer something that feels like it's in my wheelhouse. It's kind of like, okay, I'm going to go somewhere and be with all these random personalities and kind of throw back to a different time, you know? And I get there and it's, well, do I free reign? Like, do you think he'd be mad if I was like saying the cast?
Say the cast and I can bleep it.
Okay, so I get there.
I want to know. And I was like, I'm going to ask. He knows that I know. I was saying so many cast people. He's like, no, I don't know. And then he's like, can you bleep some of those names? I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I want to hear the names, but we'll bleep them.
Well, so let me just walk you through this very quickly as well. You know me, I'm like always agreeing to things, and then I'm like, I'll look at my schedule and I'm like, holy
That's been
like,
lately too.
it's just, I say yes to everything. It was my New Year's resolution a year ago. I'll never not like, and then it's just like my schedule was slammed. And then he's like, can you be in downtown LA at 9 a.m. like on whatever the day was? And I'm like, that is just I suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
9 a.m. downtown LA, full glam already. I went to bed at like 4 a.m. I got up at 6. Like it was just, you know.
And downtown LA, I immediately, I say no to everything. Even if it's my own shoot, I'm like anywhere but downtown
Yes,
LA.
I hate it. It's so
Yeah.
far. It's so
dangerous. Even during the day, people just get like robbed. Like it's crazy. Yeah.
It is just like, it is a different world. I hate it. And so of course I'm like on my way. I'm like, I can't feel my hands in the car. I'm so tired, you know, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. But still excited, like so excited. And I get there and all of them I have different histories with and like love. Like I was having a great time on set with all of them, I will say.
Yeah.
But I show up at 9 a.m. and then I podcasted about this too. I walk in and I love it's 9 a.m. downtown LA and I haven't slept for an hour. And she's telling me about how she just
That's obviously about Rosanna Pansino, about how she smoked her dad. Obviously, that's about that, because we got that context in the cancelled episode.
podcast about this, and then all the comments are like, she's talking about never do that. She's lying. And I'm like, why? Where do you people get off?
Also, we know that it's not a lie because Rosanna has talked about it herself, and I literally saw tweets about it on Twitter like before that episode came out. So
I would make that up.
I have a text that says that. She texted me that's what she was doing. Yeah. God.
And it like no cameras. It was in his real voice. He introduced his name. Like he wasn't being an actor. Like, do you know what I mean? It was some real shit. And like I leave and I tell like everyone in there, like, you know me, like just immediately I'm going to tell people because I just think that's so not okay. And like, again, Joey was amazing. Everyone was amazing about it. You know what I mean?
Whoa.
And then
So on the day, Joey was amazing about it, but then when she says the story publicly, then he has an issue with it. So it's like, at the time you knew that it happened and you acknowledged it and everyone was amazing about it, but now that she says it publicly, you're like, oh, like being a bit weird about it. Do you know what I mean? So it's not even like all of them think that she's lying, but they're just kind of insinuating that publicly to quell the drama around the project, because he wants the project to look more professional than it is.
did scare me. It scared the out of me because I feel like normally I'm not the type of person for things like that to scare me on a normal set, but I'm alone and like far from everyone.
And it's not
like,
YouTube Red production. This is more independent.
Yes.
So are you doing background checks? Are you doing, you know what I mean? Like, and most people don't do background checks on actors, right? That's not like a thing. So
I can't see this guy's face through his mask. Like it's just, it's very creepy. And the whole production company, there was just a couple other things that happened that day where like guys were saying weird things to me and calling me hot and stuff. And I was just like, this is kind of a skeezy. And that's not Joey's. Like that's not on Joey. You know what I mean? Like
definitely production.
Yes, but just very skeezy, creepy. I didn't want to because I love him in the final product and for the fans and stuff. But then of course I podcast about it and all the comments are like, of course Tana leaks Escape the Night. I'm like, hello? What about my trauma? Like people just do not take me seriously.
Did you share the extent of that story?
Yes,
on
Patreon, but like still.
Yeah.
Like, and
I mean, Joey did say she could talk about it, so I was like, all right.
Yeah,
we'll leave out spoilers for you guys, but that was.
And I felt like he was like maybe felt some type of way about me podcasting about it, but yeah, I just left really hating men in Hollywood. That production company was just kind of a group of skeezy men, and I was just like, it sucks, especially just being like the blonde and the bubbly and like this like sexier your brand. Like people just take things further, you know.
Yeah.
We get the point. Okay, so I don't know how much I'm going to cut that down and edit because that was a long clip, but I'm obviously going to cut it down a little bit for you guys. But you get the point. She tells the story again and she says that Joey's obviously felt some kind of way about her podcasting about it, but on the day, he was very apologetic. So we finally get a statement from Joey about this whole thing on Just Trish. I think it was literally like an episode or two later.
I just reached out for a statement because I was like, I guess I should get his side. It came to me like last evening. I was like,
A journalist.
I should just text him. Yeah. I said, can you give Just Trish an exclusive statement in response to Tana? He said, I sent Tana a text. I don't see why she can't handle things offline. I apologize to her for how I talked about it on the pod, though, and I was just being playful. I think Tana's been hurt by a lot of people and put me in the same boat of people who have wronged her with people with bad intentions, but I genuinely feel bad and was shocked by her reaction, and I instantly texted her. And we also handled it on set, too. So I think I'm talking about probably with that guy, I'm assuming. Like, when Tana told him about the harassment and stuff. She said he said we also handled it on set. And he said he's going to send her flowers. So I hope all's well that ends well.
Yeah.
For some reason then, Rosanna decides to make a YouTube video about it, but not on like a YouTube channel that she has, like a main one, but on like a podcast that she has that gets less views. It's kind of gone a bit under the radar for a bit. And this is it. Now I'm gonna have to show you multiple clips from this podcast. I'm gonna cut it down, but there are a few clips I want to show you guys from how she reacts to the whole thing. Now she films this with her boyfriend of, I think she says 10 years or something.
When you're a working professional and you know that you have a big shoot coming up and maybe you know that you have a hard time sleeping, that's your responsibility to get enough hours of sleep before your gig. Like that's on you as an adult, as a working adult professional.
Later in the clip, you'll see them complaining about, in their opinion, people are being unprofessional, except Tana's literally the definition of unprofessional, where you have months to plan your schedule around getting up. Maybe she has to get up at 6, maybe at 7, but you have months to plan for that.
I always just assume it's an early morning call time.
Always.
Also, Escape the Night used to film for an entire week, and we were just going to film the show in 2 days, which was also incredible because you get to do the project in 2 days.
So right here, she's already starting to be unprofessional. Say you have a customer service job where you have to be on and happy and supportive and helping the customers all day. If you have to do that on like 2 hours of sleep, you're going to be grumpy.
Now, I understand the point they're making completely. I just think it's nitpicking stuff that Tana just says for a funny story. Like, a lot of the context that she gives is just to be funny and to set the scene. It's not to... She's not blaming her lack of waking up skills on Joey. She's adding it in as a context. And it might seem like I'm really writing for Tana here, but just because after years of her being on the internet and us all consuming her content, we can kind of see how she builds stories and how she tells them. And so this isn't like a point that she's making to be like, screw Joey for making me go there at 9 a.m. It's like, no, screw me for waking up late. And that's why I was a bit in a mood, because I was tired. Now, I don't know why they're harping on this so much, but they're almost setting it up as like, oh, well, you can't say that these men actually harassing you are unprofessional because you're unprofessional because you didn't go to bed on time. Like, that doesn't add up. And also, we've all had to take Rosanna Pansino seriously. Not had to, but kind of. We've all had to take Rosanna Pansino seriously when she's been saying that Mr. Beast, you know, was not a feminist and cut her out of the video for Logan Paul, and how he did this and how he edited her wrong and she wanted to be the strong, powerful woman winning, you know, the Beast games or whatever. And we all had to like be like, yes, Rosanna, you're a victim. Yes, Rosanna, you're a victim. But now that a woman is actually being harassed on set, she takes an hour and 36 minutes, almost an hour and 37 minutes, to basically say, well, you did this, 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 and this, so you kind of deserve to have a guy make you feel really uncomfortable on set. Like, that's basically what I'm gathering from here. And I wish we could go back to the days of, what was the show that she did? I watched as a kid, you know, Yummy Nummies or something. Like, you know, she just baked stuff. Can we just go back to the days where Rosanna Pansino baked stuff instead of getting herself involved in drama that she was not asked to be involved in? I'm just getting a little bit sick of it, actually. Not everyone needs to be a drama channel. Maybe I don't even need to be a drama channel, but I've been doing this. That's just been my gig this whole time. Oh, my battery's dying. I thought I started filming after changing my battery and I just didn't. Right, so what I was saying was, I've been making this content this whole time, so maybe I shouldn't be a drama channel, but that's just been my gig. Whereas she started out baking and then that kind of lost steam, so then she did other stuff and then became more mainstream and then came back and then exposed Mr. Beast on Trisha's podcast and has ridden the wave since, right? The video after video about Mr. Beast, which, to be completely honest, he isn't a great guy, right? But at the time when she exposed him first, she got a lot of hate for it because people thought she was over exaggerating. She like tweeted and then deleted, and people called row on it and said like, you're exaggerating, we get it, but like, you're taking it a bit too far. But then Mr. Beast got exposed as actually a bad person, kind of. So then people started like saying that her argument was valid because now other people called him out. But then she decided to make video after video on Mr. Beast, and then people said, whoa, this is a bit too much. But God forbid another woman talk about an actual quite uncomfortable and scary things happen on set, and all of a sudden it's, how dare you? Hour and 36 minutes of, you did this and you did this and therefore you deserve this. Now, her description says, Tana decided to attack me on multiple podcasts for some reason. Her making a joke about the fact that you smoked your dad and you talked about that to multiple people, that's not her attacking you. She's just making a joke about it the way you've been making jokes about it. She also told lies and exaggerations about Joey Graceffa's Escape the Night. I don't know why we're doing this, actually.
But let's just say I walk into like characters screaming.
So Tana arrives to set, and she said she walks into the room to all these characters. Tana, I love you, but you are a character.
Everyone there had been on Escape the Night before except one person. So, I don't know, it's just very weird to call them characters. Is it?
Once again, it is a part of the storytelling, an exaggeration, so be it. Oh, I'm walking into a bunch of characters. What she's saying is, I got to sleep really late, woke up early, had to be there at 9 a.m. I'm already really tired, and I walk in and everyone's high energy and super characters, and I'm needing to get into that space. Like, that's what I got from what Tana said. I didn't get it as like Tana mocking people, because obviously she's a character herself. Everyone on YouTube is a character. Anyway, so then we talk about the weed stuff, skipping forward again.
And then just when she's saying like, oh, and some YouTubers talking about how they smoke their dead parent, it's so degrading because Ro has literally filmed an entire season of Escape the Night with Tana, and I just feel like it's very degrading to just say, oh, you're some YouTuber. And I think it's very intentional, and it's just mean.
It felt mean when I'm watching it. It just felt really judgy.
Yeah. And then Brooke, it says, isn't that illegal? Which keep in mind, Brooke does not like Ro.
Right, yeah. Brooke doesn't like me because on my podcast, I had my friend Tila Dunn on, who's an actress. And on the podcast, Tila brought up Brooke, her racist post that resurfaced or something. And Tila said that it really disappointed her. And I said, yeah, it's disappointing.
Every time Brooke mentions Ro, you can tell.
Her face just scowls.
Just how much hatred is there.
Look at her face. And so right here in this clip, she goes, isn't that illegal?
No, it's not.
And the answer is no. It is not.
They took it very seriously. Obviously, once again, Tana was making a joke, but she said some YouTuber, because she didn't want to say names of who was on Escape the Night, so she said some YouTuber smoked their dead dad. That wasn't derogatory. She was making a joke about it the way you've been making jokes about it this whole time. I don't know. I'm just kind of getting a little bit sick of this. I don't know. Then we have talks about the safety of this whole thing, okay?
Cold. Of course I'm dressed like a slut. I feel like this is always happening to me, where someone has me dressed like a slut.
I like how she says her phone immediately goes to SOS. It's like you're down one flight of stairs.
Yeah, if you walk up one flight, it goes up. And I just want to remind everyone, on all the sets that I've been on, you're not supposed to have your phone on set. On NCIS, they did not allow me to have my phone on set.
Is it just me, or is this like super nitpicky? Like, they've spent the last 26 minutes just nitpicking every little storytelling device that Tana Mongeau has used. Like, otherwise she wouldn't have a podcast. Like, there's a reason why she builds the story the way she does. I don't know, it's just like nitpicking every little thing. She said her phone went to SOS because it's a funny bit for how creepy this whole thing was, that her phone went to SOS. Obviously, if she left the building, it wouldn't be on SOS anymore. Like, you could have just walked one flight of stairs and it... Yes, duh. Like, if you walk into somewhere and your phone goes on SOS, guess what you have to do to not get it on SOS anymore? Leave. Go back to where you came from. Obviously, duh. If I get on a plane and my phone goes to SOS and I say, oh, my phone went to SOS, and someone said, oh, just get off the plane. Yeah, duh. Like, no shit, Sherlock. I don't know if I'm just... I feel like I'm going to get cancelled by the Rosanna Pansinos. The Pansininos, the whatever the fans of Rosanna are called. I'm going to get cancelled by them because I'm just like not seeing what the point of this podcast was. I'm really just not seeing it, and it's infuriating me because it's like, I'm not like Tana Mongeau's biggest fan. I'm not like here just riding for Tana Mongeau every day, but surely this is a bit of a weird thing to film. I don't quite see the point of Rosanna getting involved with this with her boyfriend. I just don't quite get it.
Time during breaks, no one's on their phone.
It's actually uncommon to have cell service because you're normally on a set in a big warehouse.
Where someone has me dressed like a slut and it's wintertime.
She also plays victim here, and this really bothers me, is she says, someone has me dressed like a slut. Like, they keep making me wear these things.
Who do you think that person is that made her do that?
That would be herself. That would be herself, Mike, because Joey let us pick free range anything we wanted to wear. He said, okay.
You walk in and the production company is all men from like the rickets of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Okay.
That statement is just a lie. The production company was not all male. There was tons of females, and like, I don't understand if Tana has like female blindness, like she can't see
Maybe.
women. She just sees the dudes.
When we first walked in, there was like 4 women. They were like some of the first people I saw. And so I don't know why she has to again exaggerate and say it was all men. It's just not true.
There was tons of women on set. Even the lead game designer who like made all the games and explained all of it to us. Like, she produced everything and she was always there. She was female. She's female, and I have a video of even her there. So yes, there were females on set. There was females a part of the crew. There was females on the production. So this is just a blatant lie. And then she insults them and said from the rickets of Los Angeles. So like shaming them where they're from. Like, if you're from an area that she doesn't think is good enough, then you're from the rickets. Yeah. So I think what she may have been upset about is she should have said there was no cute guys, in her opinion. They weren't young enough. They weren't hot enough. And so she's just annoyed that these are grown men doing their thing, working.
And I don't know what set she's on. It's not, I've never been on a set that's just all men. If it's like a real production,
no.
I feel like she's just making that up. If it's a production of 3 people, maybe it'll be all men, but any real production, if it's like 30, 40
like,
people.
We're not there. It's not Tinder. Like, we're not there to date the guys.
We're not there to judge people where they're from or what they look like. Grow up.
They're not young enough? What? Who says that? On a production crew. This director's not young enough.
This shoot would have been so much fun.
This producer's not young enough. This director's too ugly. Could you imagine saying that to a real director? Like, it's just so shallow.
Yeah.
These men from this production company just weren't giving that. Like, and it was just like very creepy. Like I just, the vibes with every interaction I had with every single person. Like, just the mic guy, it was like, he's not asking me. He's all up in my...
So she says every interaction with every single person was weird or giving weird vibes or whatever. And it's like, no, I literally was next to Tana when she talked to several crew members several times. It was completely normal interactions. So just based on what I saw in person with my own eyes, it already proves, in my opinion, that she is either exaggerating or just lying. And that's not to say when we get to the other actor what he said, it's not to say that that's didn't happen. But here she's literally saying every interaction with every person on the crew was weird.
If he's saying that when they get to the actual meat of the story, they're saying that is true, then what is the point of talking about the rest of this? We're like, yes, Tana might have did a ha he exaggeration for all the rest, but if we're saying that the main meat of the story is real, then truly, what is the point of calling her out? Truly, if she's saying every interaction I had was bad, okay, let's say the truth is that 75% of the interactions she had was weird, then obviously for the sake of the story she says, oh my god, every interaction I had was so bad. If she's saying, oh, my phone went to SOS and blah blah, and you're saying, well, you could have just left, why were you on your phone? It's like, I don't understand, because what he's saying is the main story did happen and that was really bad, so why are we nitpicking the irrelevant bits that she just added in to bulk up the story? I just don't quite understand.
It's just not true. If you feel like every interaction was weird with every single person, maybe it's not them.
Here we go. Let's hear some more.
Not asking me. He's all up in my guts. He's like very weird, like heavy breathing, like complimenting me. Like I do appreciate a compliment, but it's like weird when you're underground in a basement.
I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, but he wasn't heavy breathing because he thought Tana was hot and he was into her and he's like being creepy and slimy. He was heavy breathing because he was overweight and he was busting his ass. He was running up and down the stairs all day, working so hard. He was so kind.
You look so beautiful today, Tana. And they look like a gremlin, and you're like, my phone's on SOS, and like it's just
time and place.
She complains that he compliments her, which he complimented everyone. I did not pick up that he was saying it in a creepy or hitting on you way at all.
I think there's also something about Tana obviously is now looking back on the whole situation from the perspective of that one creepy instance. So now looking back on it, she's almost got like the reverse of rose tinted glasses on, where she's now seeing all of it as really creepy, even if all of it was not creepy, because that one interaction jaded her to the whole story. Does that make sense? Like if you go somewhere and you're there for 12 hours and something really, like a small blip of time is a really creepy interaction, you might then go back and whenever you think about that story, you might think the whole day was really creepy. You're now looking for bits that maybe weren't there. It doesn't quite take away from the fact that the main bit of the story is creepy, unprofessional, and should not have happened.
Now there's no cameras. Like the set, it was huge down there as well. So like the nearest people were like 25, 30 feet away, whatever, right? And this man looks...
In this video, she says they were 25, 30 feet away. In her recent video, I think it's episode 110, she says they're 100 feet away. I heard she uploaded another video that's behind a paywall, which I haven't seen yet, on her Patreon. The picture that she's painting was not reality.
Whatever, right? And this man looks at me, I swear to God, through the mask, I don't know what he looks like. And he looks at me and he says, this is my dream, having you chained up.
No.
This is my dream, having you chained up.
So I would scream
and
out
then
loud.
he goes, perfect. And I'm so, and then I just look at him and I mean, again, arms, I'm chained up. I mean,
Again, she's not chained up.
I'm livid. I turn to him and I go, what the dude?
By the she's not chained up, they mean she wasn't actually permanently chained up and she could have come down anytime she wanted, but for the sake of filming, she was chained up, so she wouldn't have gotten herself free, because for the sake of the thing, she was, you know what I mean? But like, she could have technically gotten free.
I heard you. I'm in this meat freezer. And this guy, whatever.
No meat,
and
no
then,
freezer.
And then he's just like laughing. And imagine.
Well, no meat, a very, very old, unoperational,
I guess, yeah, no
previously
cold air, no cold
used
air.
freezer, and now is a studio.
It's like, why are we it's a fake meat freezer. What Tana's doing is painting the image that the scenery was really creepy, and that what he said added, or was what happened with the guy was amplified by how creepy the set was, which she says for Escape the Night, the set has to be creepy because it's a horror show. So when something bad happens on set, something uncomfortable, it is amplified by the fact that they are filming a scary show and that the set is creepy. Why are we nitpicking how many feet away someone was? Why your phone went on SOS? Why were you using your phone in the first place? The guys didn't have to be you weren't actually tied up. It was a fake meat free. Like, what is the point of this episode? I don't quite get it. And I'm actually getting angry. Maybe I should stop filming. I need to calm down.
So up to this point, Tana has basically exaggerated or lied about
Most everything.
And this is, I think this is the worst of the situation where she says that...
He said something
weird-
inappropriate to her.
Yeah, inappropriate to her. We weren't there for that.
There we go. So you filmed this whole episode nitpicking every other bit of her story, but you actually weren't there for the main story. So why should we care about what you have to say when you weren't there for the main bit?
And again, she was not locked in the room, chained in the room. There is not even a door, and production was 15 feet away.
Props to Joey though, like crowdfunding it and getting that many people to fund it now is like the biggest flex
Yeah.
and so cool. So like, I was so gagged back in the day. Like YouTube Red had a budget that I'd never seen before, you know?
Now we're going into the third time Tana talks about Escape the Night, but there's actually 4 times. Apparently she also talked about it on her Patreon, but I didn't see that one, so I can't clock her there. All right, let's go.
Oh my God, I want to talk about Joey Graceffa. That was just like a whole, like very, very awful day and awful experience for me, you know what I mean? And just being fake chained up in a meat freezer. And
What's this? She said being fake chained up in the meat freezer. That is correct. It was all fake.
Well, yeah, it was all fake because it was set for a show. Like, it wasn't some kind of a survival show. Like, obviously it was fake. But she didn't say it was fake in the first video because obviously it's fake. It's a fake set. What she was saying was that's what the set looked like. So she was just saying I was chained up in a meat freezer because that was the set. for the video. But now that you've called it out, she has to be like, I was fake chained up with a fake me. Obviously it wasn't real. Obviously it wasn't real. It's a set. What she's saying is it was creepy enough as is when you're filming it for then something creepy to happen. That amplifies this whole situation. Oh my God. It's like, when people film horror movies and actors have spoken about the fact that obviously it's a fake set and obviously everyone is acting and everyone is an actor, right? But they come out of filming scenes scared because it's supposed to feel real despite it being fake. Because your mind can't differentiate between fake scary and real scary. So a lot of actors will be traumatized by filming horror movies because they're scary despite them being fake. I know, that is shocking stuff. So what Tana was saying was it was a fake set, but it was creepy. And so then when the guy was creepy to her, it was amplified by the fake scary set. I don't think we'd have to break it down so much as if I am talking to a child in nursery. And I'm never this defensive of Tana Mongeau because she has exaggerated in the past. And maybe she is exaggerating the story. But it doesn't take away from the fact that the main event was a guy said something to her that he absolutely should not have said to her on set. That's it. That's the tea in the shade of the story.
Crap there, you were never locked in. You could get out all the time.
Also, am I being a bit of a snowflake? Like a bit of a sensitive snowflake? And like, is it a bit victim blamey? When Tana Mongeau said, this happened to me, I felt really trapped in that situation because I was in between scenes on set like this. And Rosanna's whole thing is, you could have left any time. Doesn't that sound a bit like, when people are like, oh, well, why didn't you say no? Or why didn't you leave? Like, do you know what I mean? Am I just being a bit sensitive? Or is that where it's a bit victim blamey? Like, well, you weren't chained up. Like, you could have left any time. Despite most people reacting in a freeze or fawn type of a situation.
You chained up like this with a mask with horns on and know people are 100 feet away. And again, just the mental state of thinking, like, what if that was Rosanna Pansino?
So there she is again, dogging on you, essentially saying you're meek and weak. I don't know if Tana knows the last person who came for you had to fire their CEO. So.
Oh, wow. Someone had to fire a CEO. I don't know. She's not saying that Rosanna is weak. She's saying a lot of people don't believe me when I talk about the inappropriate things that have happened to me. And maybe if someone more respected what she was actually saying was that Rosanna is more respected than her and gets believed more. She's not calling you weak. She's saying you would have been believed and I wouldn't have. Or like, this maybe wouldn't have happened to you, but it would have happened to me. Or like, maybe you would have reacted differently to me. And it is a proven fact that when Tana Mongeau calls someone out, mainly for sexual deviant behavior, no one believes her, or people downplay it because it's just Tana. That's how Tana is. She attracts that kind of behavior. So I think that is what Tana was saying. And not just saying like, oh, Rosanna is a weak person. Obviously, she's not saying that.
Like,
I don't know where in her mind she thinks that you're just this little weak thing.
for many years, I did allow people to treat me poorly in private. I did that for 20 years of my life, but my trauma tank is full. I talked about this on Just Trish's podcast. I would encourage everyone to listen to that. And just to really understand where I am now in life, my trauma tank is full. I cannot take anymore. So anyone who comes at me or for me or does anything to me, I'm not going to hold that in. I am not going to bear that weight. I am going to speak up for myself. And she's saying she doesn't think I would have enough courage to speak up to a horror actor. But I have enough courage to stand up to the biggest, largest content creator in the entire world who is a billionaire and is extremely influential and powerful.
And a lot of
It's insulting. It's insulting.
Maybe they're piecing it together that we don't like bullshit, but I don't know.
Oh, you know what, Mike? That's probably it.
Maybe.
Oh. Yeah, the thing is like, I'm just going to call him like I see him. A lie is a lie. Do you know how to frustrate an honest person? Lie to him. Do you know how to frustrate a narcissist? Tell him the truth.
And then
Right. Okay. And then the last clip I promised from this podcast episode is here.
just complaining is crazy. And then almost like diminishing like the pinky thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what he said to Trisha exactly, if it was like, ask her how her pinky is.
I agree with Joey. Ask her how her pinky is, internet. I think we should all ask for those x-rays, and not just the x-ray, but the actual doctor at the hospital so you can verify that that is a real document and not a doctored document.
And it's like, okay, but this man who just like literally verbally, is that assault? It's harassment. It's harassment.
It started out as weird, then it was assault. Now she's like, it's assault. And Brooke is like, harassment.
She's like, reel it in, reel it in. She's guiding it just a little bit.
Doesn't this feel very victim blamey? Oh, now it was weird, and then it's assault, and then it's this, and this coming from a woman is disgusting. Actually, quite frankly, this is gross. For Rosanna of all people to be doing this, absolutely disgusting. Whatever, we don't have to name it. The guy was inappropriate, and it was harassment. But for you to sit here and be like, oh, now they're having to reel it in. Is this not just disgusting to me? Am I losing my fucking mind? Am I losing my mind? Is this not disgusting? For her with her boyfriend to sit here and do that is ridiculous for 63,000 views.
I mean, now I've like talked. Basically, I saw it when I got home this morning. I got home at Monday. I saw the comments about it. I don't usually watch things that I feel like will trigger me, and I felt like this one was gonna trigger me. And I was like, oh, let me like not watch it. But everyone's like, oh, talk about it. And I was like, I guess it's like weird if I don't talk about it, but I'm glad I watched it. But I'm also glad I wish I didn't, because it did trigger me so much. It made me so angry. But I took a shower, got glam. My mom and sister came over, which was really fun, and like I feel like a little better. But it made me so angry. And I just was like, I'm glad I don't record things right in the heat of the moment, because I think if I did, I would have been so angry. Well, you saw when I came down to get glam, I was just like, I had to talk. Thank God I'm married, because sometimes you should just only vent to your spouse and you don't need to put it on the internet. So I was kind of going back and forth. I was just like, let me just vent to Moses, because I was so mad. I was so angry, and I like haven't gotten mad or angry in so long. I usually don't, especially this kind of stuff like hot topics. It's like, oh, whatever, it's a key, it's not that serious, whatever. But this one just felt so personal. They admit that they weren't down there when anything was happening. They admit that she was alone with this guy down there. And yet they still were just saying how much she was a liar. They just kept calling her a liar.
They were dissecting her story when she's on her podcast, which is for entertainment, and it's her story to tell. So it's her right to tell it however she wants to. If she wants to add, it was 50 feet away or 100 feet away, like whatever details, she can tell it the way she wants. It's her story to tell.
I don't even think she was meaning to do
but
it.
What I'm saying is, like, they dissected her story as if that was in court evidence. Like, oh no, she said it was 50 feet, then she said 100 feet, so she's a liar. I'm like, that's not the point of her story.
That's a really good point. Like, we're not in court. Whether it was 20 feet away or 50 feet away or 100 feet away, that's not the important part of the story. And yeah, if this was in court, we need to get some concrete answers about, was it 25 feet or was it 50 feet? But it's just a YouTube podcast where she's telling a story for comedic effect. Like, it doesn't matter how far away they were, or if it was a fake meat freezer, if it was a real meat freezer, if you were actually chained up, or if you weren't, or if your phone could have been on SOS, but also if you moved, it wasn't. Like, it doesn't matter, because we're not in the court of law. It is a comedic story that she was telling.
And if she wants to exaggerate, change it a little bit, maybe she doesn't remember at the moment, because also when trauma happens, you don't remember everything.
And I could tell you the difference between 50 feet or 100 feet. I don't know how far we are from me now.
But the thing is, so they dissected everything up to the moment that the thing happened, and then they said we weren't there.
Yeah.
We didn't see what happened, and then they dissected everything that happened after. I'm like, that is the main thing.
Yeah.
That is the story.
She was alone with a man that made her uncomfortable, that verbally assaulted her, that verbally told her inappropriate things, and nobody else was in the room. But they basically they admitted that they weren't there, but so much of it was, oh, she was chained up. It's like, and the faces, the mocking, all of it made me so mad. I was so mad, because Rosanna, to me, up to this point, has been nothing but like so sweet and kind and very like compassionate and empathetic, and just like giggling, making faces, saying, no, that didn't happen. They're like, that didn't happen, that's just a lie. And I was like, but you guys also said you weren't there.
Yeah. And then she addresses the fact that Ro called out Mr. Beast and Scream Queens. She was on Scream Queens, where she felt like the set was really inappropriate and unprofessional, and everyone's just supposed to be like, yes, Rosanna, you're the victim, yes, Rosanna, you're the victim. But if anyone, God forbid, is a victim, suddenly, oh, you're lying, you're exaggerating, it was not this many feet, it was this many feet. Like, it's getting ridiculous now. It really is.
Anybody, like, it's like, who are you defending and why are you defending? It felt very like almost like possessed. Like, it felt very weird, because I was like, is this for views? Is it for... Their biggest critique was, why are Joey and Tana talking about this on a podcast back and forth? Why are you inserting yourself on a podcast when you weren't even involved, totally assassinating this person's character, when all you do is try to defend victims of Mr. Beast? How can you be a voice for victims, but then when it's Tana, just completely... I mean, it's long. The clips I saw were long. I don't know how long the podcast was. Just constant berating, mocking, laughing, saying something didn't happen when you're not there.
And also, she never, ever said who that person was.
Yeah.
Who are you defending? Like it's not like she went after his livelihood, after his life.
Nothing.
She didn't do any of that. Like, she literally took it. She said it to the production. She said it to Joey. After that, she told the story. Joey told the story. They apologized. Yes, they're back and forward. Because I'm saying, okay, who are they defending? Joey? Okay, so even in there, Joey said he apologized.
Yeah,
He's sorry.
Joey apologized. Didn't know.
If anything, again, the conversation was about a show that's going to air and going to happen.
Calling Tana unprofessional. Oh, Tana can be unprofessional, but no one else can. When has Tana been unprofessional? She showed up.
There's also a difference between being unprofessional by not going to sleep on time and then complaining about getting there on time. Like, Tana wasn't unprofessional. She complained about her own misdoings. She said, I went to sleep late, so I had to wake up early, get into a full beat, and do a 12-hour set. That wasn't her being unprofessional. She screwed herself over by not getting enough sleep, but she wasn't unprofessional, because it's her decision as an adult whether she wants to get good sleep or not. What is unprofessional is harassing someone on set. That's what's actually unprofessional.
Defending and being with Joey, being like, oh, Tana only thinks about herself. Like, what about Joey's feelings? Joey wasn't the victim. Joey isn't the one chained up in a vulnerable situation. No one was allowed down there. Tana told us the story that Paige wasn't allowed down there filming. She's alone with this guy. Everyone's saying she's alone with this guy. Mike is like, yeah, she was alone with the guy. Everyone's saying this. You know, it's like she had nothing to gain. She wasn't going for this guy's livelihood, anything like that. Mocking her, saying that she did like a favor for Joey. All of it just was... It's like no one else's feelings need to be taken into consideration. Tana was the victim.
Then we go into... It's now Rosanna versus Trish. Which is interesting.
That same behavior, were you also like, should I have a hard time believing that you also weren't participating in the stuff Colleen was? Like, it's so crazy and asinine to think that, and so, it just made me so mad, because of all people, who are you judging? One, a victim, two, someone who like confided in you on the set so you know something happened. Well, she didn't say what kind of weird stuff happened. Weird. And Tana was being probably just trying to get through the day. I think too, I mean, then I got brought into it, and all of a sudden I think Rosanna then attacking me kind of made me feel some type of way, because she twisted things that I said, which I was really upset about, because I think Rosanna and I, like I said, privately we're closer than we are publicly, in the sense that she does share personal stuff with me and I share personal stuff with her, and we've gone to each other's houses, we know each other's families. So, and every time she's been brought up on the show, you know, even if she says kooky things, I do try to see Rosanna's defense, because I know her as a person. I'm like, or I thought I did. I was like, this person has a pretty good heart. So for her then to watch the clip and take not even out of context, to twist it about, we were talking about Rosanna's first podcast episode was like, I smoked my dad. An outrageous title, which she knows it's outrageous. You know what I mean? And so when I was talking about the text, I was like, yeah, I mean.
Rosanna's upset about Tana constantly saying this YouTuber that smoked their dead dad. But her first podcast episode is called I Smoked My Dead Dad. Let's have some self-awareness. Let's learn self-awareness. I think there's some people that get a lot of support in a short period of time, and then their ego just outgrows them. I don't know if you guys watched the recent season of Love Island All Stars. There was a contestant on there called Elma, and she won favorite girl. She was voted favorite girl. So, you know, they don't see what the audience is reacting to, but every now and then the audience will have a thing to vote on, and they had to pick one favorite girl and one favorite boy, and she won favorite girl. Okay. After that, she became incredibly rude and just rude and inconsiderate, and slowly but surely she started making it to the like bottom 3 in every single vote. But she was confused as to why, because she was like, well, I was favorite girl, right? In her head, that's what she's thinking. I was favorite girl, so why am I now being voted bottom 3? I think it's when someone gets a lot of support, they then think that they can get away with everything. And I think that's where Rosanna's at. She did the Mr. Beast thing before it was popular, right? She like called him out right before he got called out. So then he got called out by a bunch of other people, and that made mainstream news. So she kind of rode the wave of that, and she got the support, the kind of indirect support of all of that. And I think her ego grew too big for her. Whereas now she thinks, oh, I can just call out anyone I want, and everyone will just take my side. That's how I feel sometimes. I don't know.
Because we were talking about her whole thing. She went on a whole thing about smoking her dad, you know, like she planted her dad's ashes. And it's a beautiful thing. I was always supportive of it. But to turn it around and say that I was like making fun of someone who lost their dad to leukemia, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. The most insulting thing I've ever heard. Because in all my trolling years, all the crazy shit I've said and done, I've never once mocked or laughed at anyone losing their parent, especially Rosanna, who's like a friend of mine who I know what. Like it was just such an outrageous title. And I was like, yeah, she even texted me that title. But to her, it just hurt me so bad. It hurt me so bad because that was so taken out of context. And then the other thing, to make it seem like I'm above people because I said I was scared to go, or that I don't go to downtown LA. That's a hard rule that I've always had. And to Rosanna flip it, be like, oh, she's so above it to not go to LA. Like, I don't like that she won't drive to a certain location. Well, Rosanna, I had a really traumatic sexual assault experience down in downtown LA. From the ages of 18 to 21, I've had 3 sexual assault experiences happen in downtown LA. The violent crime has risen down there. That's why it's me feeling unsafe. And you've felt unsafe in the Mr. Beast thing, Tana felt unsafe. Like, people feel unsafe, and it's okay. It has nothing to do. There was nothing I said about the people of downtown LA, the location of downtown LA. It's what I've experienced. It's the violent crime rising that's happened down there. And I just said that I just won't shoot down there. And that was part of Tana's story. But to use that as like a discredit against Tana for me being uncomfortable going to downtown Los Angeles, that was not her story, and just trying to assassinate my character for literally no reason. I had Joey on, Tana followed, Rosanna, I've had you on, and I defended you, you know, in the Mr. Beast thing, when everyone said, oh my gosh, she's dragging out, she's over-exaggerating, she's being dramatic about it. I've always defended you, and I was like...
Then we just jumped to the end of the episode.
As you know, any shoot I ever do, if it's in downtown LA, I won't go, or I ask for security, like, it's not unreasonable, and to be like, oh, she thinks she's above people for that.
But I didn't even see. So she said that you made fun of the situation with her dad. So I'm like, I said here in every podcast, you never made fun of her.
I said, and maybe I shouldn't have shared a private text that she sent, but I was like, we talked about the title of like her smoking her dad, and to me, she knows it's outrageous. Obviously, that's why her title, and it's like a kooky thing to say. And obviously, she didn't smoke her dad. She planted it, and she tells the story of how he smoked, and she smoked it, and it's not like she just, you know. And I've always liked the story. I've always liked the story, and I just shared the text, and I was like laughing. So I was like, oh my god, she even texted me this. Like, isn't that so crazy? I apologize, Rosanna, if that really did trigger you, or if you really thought that I was trying to make fun of. I don't even know how to apologize, because if it really hurt you in that sense, and you really thought I was trying to make fun of you because your dad died, like that's so far off. But in the same sense, that's why I'm like, I just think we are just so disconnected, and so we don't know each other, and I don't want to know that person that thinks that about me, because why wouldn't you text? She always says, oh, why is things going through a podcast? That didn't have to. You could have like, that could have been a text. And maybe she's like, well, she'll just read my text or whatever. I guess I understand that perspective, and I'm truly sorry if you thought that, but there's never been an ounce of me, even in my trolling days, my drug days, and the worst of me days, have I ever made fun of anyone for like losing a parent. That's the implication there is so outlandish and so wild, and it's something that I've like never been accused of, and it like hurt me to my core. And I'm in shock, and I'm really upset, and I don't want to talk about drama, because I had such a good weekend. I have such a good week ahead. We have so many exciting things coming up, and like life is good. I tell this to Oscar all the time, like, I don't want to fake drama. I don't want to create drama that's not there, because that's not what I'm into. I love hot topics when there's no drama. I love just talking about the Oscar recap. I love it because my life is good. And when I started talking about drama or faking drama, my life was chaotic, because I don't want that energy in my life. And then this happened, and it just really upset me, because again, someone you like invite into your home, and you go to their home, and you know their family, and you know their parents, and you know our children, and it's just like, And she has always been supportive. Anything I do, Rosanna's like, you so proud of you for this. So great. So I am in shock. I'm in shock and I'm upset, and maybe I shouldn't be talking when I'm upset. I have to think enough time has passed. I think when I first saw it, I was red. I was seething. I was angry. I wanted to tweet. And now I'm just so frustrated, and I'm just really sad. I'm really sad because once again, I feel like it was a friendship that was mostly off camera. That was really wonderful. And the only reason we couldn't go to their last birthday party in January was I got sick right before in New York, but we had their gift for them upstairs. Like it felt real because we weren't collaborators. We weren't influencer friends. And then to just insinuate that Rosanna has said some kooky stuff online, some wild things about Mr. Beast. And every time I'm like, that's pretty harsh. That's a wild assumption. That's a wild thing to say. But I always believe the best in Rosanna. I'm always like, I think, she's coming from this. I always try to see it, how she's coming from. And I just am like, to twist what I said is so disheartening because I hope she knows that's definitely not what I meant and she's just looking for drama reviews. And maybe they are. There's a whole rebrand that they're doing drama now. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. And
or maybe she thinks she's somebody that she can do that. I don't know.
Back and forth. I don't want to do it back and
the
forth.
punches and you'll be fine. You're not gonna take it too seriously.
But that's a mean one. You know what I mean? Like me being like, oh my god, smoking her dad, like send me the text is so whatever. She's like so silly or whatever. But that's so mean and so it's such a character like assassination for no. Like that's just not me and that's not how I am. That's never how I've been. There's a lot of things you can say about me based on my past and that's not one thing. That's never a thing that's been brought up. So to have that out, especially when I'm like working so hard to just fight the demons and fight my inner battles and my mental illness and all this stuff, and then just to have that be brought up just like a lie from someone so close to you. And it was a twist of words. It wasn't even like...
Trish then gets really emotional about it because they are friends. And the comments are saying, but if Tana told the same story but said it was on Mr. Beast's set instead of Joey's, Rosanna would be acting so differently. 3.3 thousand. Low-key emotional watching the Rosanna section because, oh my god, Trish has grown so much. This would have been a nightmare drama a few years ago, and instead we see a well-spoken mother of two defending her friend in a totally reasonable and strong way. 3,000. I don't know the difference between 50 feet and 100 feet. I don't even know how far you are from me now. Thank you. This is so real. I have literally no idea what 50 feet looks like or 100 feet. So if I was telling the story, I'd probably say 3 different distances because I'd just be like, oh, maybe it's 25, maybe it's 30, maybe it's 50. I don't know what a mile is. I don't know what a kilometer is. I can't guesstimate these things. So if someone's like, oh, I live 5 miles away from you, I'm like, I don't know what that means actually. Seeing Trish break down over the Rosanna situation makes me so sad. Trish has spoken so much about struggling with having female friends, and knowing that Rosanna was that close to her really makes the situation even worse. Dragging her friend into drama and twisting her words as a means to support her claim that Tana's lying is insane, and shows how far Rosanna is willing to go to discredit another woman's story. Did Trish grill Rosanna when she spoke out about Mr. Beast and demand footage that proved her claims? No. She listened to her story and empathized with her. When it comes to Tana, however, Rosanna turns around and releases a 2-hour slam piece dissecting every mannerism and laughing at her. Say whatever you want about Tana exaggerating stories for entertainment purposes. She doesn't just make stories up out of the blue. That's the thing. Tana will have a main bit of the story that is real and will exaggerate details around it, which she then gets called out for. Whatever you think about that, we can agree that the main bit of the story is real. Trisha, you and Moses did such a good job discussing the Rosanna situation and keeping a calm head. You explained perfectly how victim-blaming and needlessly mean-spirited Ro and her boyfriend were being in that video. Proud of you and Tana for defending yourselves and sharing your stories. I mean, I completely agree with this. Rosanna then posted a thirst trap edit of herself, kind of like a TikTok style thirst trap edit of herself from the podcast to then escape the night on her Instagram story. So she obviously doesn't care about the fact that she's losing Trish as a friend, or that she is being a victim blamer, or that she's being a hypocrite, an insufferable hypocrite at that. So I actually filmed this video yesterday, and then 14 hours ago, Rosanna Pansino finally does a video on this whole situation on her podcast channel, and she just posted on her main channel, but like a Wicked themed cake nerdy nummies. I didn't realize she was still doing nerdy nummies. That's how behind I am on all of this. But she did on the Ridiculous podcast, where she obviously did the exposing Tana Mongeau's lies, a message to Trish and my issue with Tana Mongeau. Now let's actually just watch that, and then I'm going to cut it down in edit because I don't want you guys to watch the full 20 minutes with me, but I just want to see first reaction, what she has to say.
Rebels, welcome back to Ridiculous. I just got in last night from the plane. We were traveling. We were on a fundraising trip, raising money for people who have been affected by the LA fires. They were pretty tough this year.
That already feels like, look at me, I'm such a good person. Does it not? Like when you start an apology to someone with, oh, sorry guys, I was just busy being away, raising money for the fires. Like, why am I see through this stuff now because I've been doing the drama content for 6 years, but I've also been watching YouTube for 15, since YouTube has existed. And I just think if in the first 12 seconds you're already going, then are you really saying sorry? Because this could have been 2 minutes long. Hey, sorry Trish and sorry Tana for being a bitch. That's rude. I'm starting to get to the point now where I just say stuff, and if you don't like it, you don't like it, and if you think I'm a bitch, you think I'm a bitch, but I'm just gonna say stuff because I think Rosanna's in the wrong, and she just wasn't a good person in this whole thing. And 10 minutes into it, she's like, guys, but I'm a good person. Don't cancel me. I'm a good person. And it's just like, oh, give it a break.
I think it's important to start with this. I believe Tana when she said that a guy said something inappropriate to her on set, like he harassed her on set of Escape the Night. When she told me on set, I fully had her back and I've said, I'm so sorry that happened to you and you should tell Joey. What he said to Tana was wrong. And him waiting until she was alone to say it is very telling that he knew that what he was doing was wrong. I'm proud of Tana for speaking up. She told me, she told Joey later that day on set.
That's a very different message to what you were saying in the podcast episode, and even not what you were saying directly, but what you were saying indirectly. And I also don't see the issue with Tana then going on her podcast to talk about her situation that she went through, because everyone's got the right to talk about, like, even though it makes Joey look bad, she has every right to talk about it, mainly because that whole episode was about Paige's, Brooks, and Tana's bad experiences with men. So Paige had like a stalker or something. Brooke had someone like enter her house without her consent. And then piggybacking off of that, Tana said, oh, on the topic of men that suck, here's my story. And she tried to keep it pretty anonymous. And then everyone else just decided to get involved, when we could have just left that story at where it was. She had every right to talk about it on her podcast because it fit in with the context of what that whole podcast episode was about. It was about men doing horrible things to all three of the girls, okay? So I just don't quite understand why we needed any of this. Like, really and truly, I don't mean to tell people what they can and can't talk about, but why in the flying did Rosanna think that it was her place to comment at all? You were on the set, great. That's about as far as your connection goes. You were on the set. But why are we talking about it?
Everyone deserves to be treated like that, especially on set. Everyone deserves to feel safe in a working environment. I fully support her for calling out his disgusting behavior. On my previous podcast, I said that I continue to choose to support her, even though she's mocked me. Unfortunately, I know firsthand how scary it can be to be sexually harassed on set. I've been in those positions, and I'm sorry that if my criticism about other things that Tana said overshadowed that fact. Like, I should have done a better job of being clear of keeping those two things apart. Like, me criticizing and fact-checking the other things that she was saying on the podcast was in no way intended to claim that she was lying about being sexually harassed. The reason that I spoke out about this is because I felt Tana was associating many innocent people with the very harmful actions of one individual. Her claims that the entire crew were like old, creepy men is just harmful because the crew is a mix of men and women whose livelihoods depend on their reputation, and Tana is in a position of privilege, and to use that privilege to spread lies about hardworking people just to make...
She didn't name any of the other people. She didn't name the production company. She didn't name even the guy that sexually harassed her, which he deserves to be named and shamed. So at the end of the day, why do you feel the need to defend people that weren't even named? This will never affect them because they weren't named by Tana. She didn't specifically say Robert Smith and John, I don't know, Wesley or something. Yeah, those two are from this production company. She just said vague details about some random men. To all of us, these are just random men that she's talking about. There was no, this virtue signaling, this, oh, I'm just trying to help the underprivileged people. Like, I'm going to save the wildfire. Like, it's just such pandering. What am I even saying? Save the wildfires? Save the wildfires. Let them burn. No, like, save California from the wildfires. But it just feels very pandery.
Podcast more interesting comes off as very problematic to me. For example, what she said about the wardrobe team. She was saying that they made her wear this outfit. They put her in this slutty outfit.
She actually didn't say that. From what I remember, she said, and of course I'll be put in a slutty outfit. She didn't quite say like, this and this person made me wear this slutty outfit. They forced me to do it. It was kind of like the sentence was formulated wrong, but just the way she said it was more like, oh, and of course I would be dressed as a slut. But actually at the beginning of her story, she was saying that she put herself in glam. She put herself in a corset. So like, if you listen to the full story, she just said, well, of course I would be dressed like the slut and then be sexually harassed. That was the story that she was telling. She might have worded it wrong at some points, but at the beginning of the story that she is telling, she says, I put myself in glam, I put myself in a corset, and I put myself in a hot pink kitten heel. So she didn't quite say like, oh, well, I was forced to wear this. So it's just kind of like nitpicking bits of the story that don't matter at the end of the day.
So by slandering and saying they forced her to wear this, well, they don't have a big platform to speak up for themselves. When this movie comes...
But who needs to speak up? Like, there was no naming and shaming. So once again, who needs to speak up? No one. No one should have even spoken up except for Tana. Also, please ignore the dirt on my hoodies. I feel like every time I'm filming videos now, I look like I've rolled in mud, and actually that is probably close to the truth. Like I said in multiple videos now, I do have a horse, and I just film in the clothes that I've got sticky bum leggings right now, and it's because I just refuse to change. I just walk around life. I live life just stinking of horse. And that's my aroma. So if you ever wondered, what does Angelika smell like? Hay, horse poo, quite frankly.
Look, and people are going to associate them with doing things that they didn't do, and that's not fair to them. That's Tana making up stories that could negatively impact their livelihood. Like, it's risking the potential of those people not getting hired in the future, and that is not okay. Some people listening didn't understand why I was so passionate.
I think that's really dramatic, and it is being used as an excuse for what you did. So it's like Rose saying sorry, but also kind of being like, I'm just trying to help the underprivileged. Why do I give her this voice? Why? I always have like a specific voice that I do for people. Like, you know, when I talk about LA influencers, I always do and then when I talk about Rose, like, and I was trying to help the underprivileged. Like, what other voices am I going to create?
And it's because I know some of the crew personally, and they don't deserve to be lumped in like that. Words matter, and they have an effect on people, their reputations, and their livelihoods. I really want to emphasize that both of these things can be true. I think that it's wrong what happened to Tana. What that actor said and did to Tana is not okay. And I also think Tana slandering the entire crew and making up lies about them is not okay. The point I was trying to make in the last podcast are both things are not okay.
But you didn't quite get that point across, because if you did, this drama wouldn't be happening right now. Like, if you got your point across the way you think you did, well, you wouldn't be here right now. And the comments still wouldn't be dragging you to this day.
This before, and that is because I'm really hurt. This, what I'm about to talk about right now, is a separate issue. It has nothing to do with Escape the Night or being on set. Canceled podcast, Tana talks so negatively about how I honored my dad that it triggered me. I still deeply feel the loss of my dad, and for her and Brooke and Paige to put it out there that it was illegal, insinuating that I'm a criminal and that I was a cannibal, completely devastated me. Like, I thought Tana and I were friends. We've known each other for so many years. We've worked on projects together. I messaged her. I have looked to her for advice. Like, I literally invited her to my nephew's birthday. Like, I have just never been through something like that. And I don't think that I have ever felt this upset. Like, I snapped. I'm going to pause right here and just play some of the clips of her mocking me, calling me a cannibal, and reducing me to nothing more than a YouTuber who smoked her dead dad.
Like, at 9:30 in the morning, I'm standing there like fully ready, like in a gown, and I'm having a YouTuber tell me that their parent just passed away and they turned their ashes into marijuana and then they smoked their parent. And I'm like, it's 9:30 in the morning and I'm downtown and this YouTuber is telling me about how they smoked their dead parent.
Is that against the law? That's like cannibalism.
I don't know, Jude.
Did Tana need to add these bits in? No. I actually think this could have probably been left out. But I think Tana assumed, with maybe the way Ro was talking about it and the way she was posting about it on social media, that it wasn't a sore topic and that it could be used as almost like a bit of a punchline, like, I'm in downtown LA at 9 a.m. and I'm in a bad mood and someone's talking about smoking a dead dad. But could that have been left out to be more sensitive? Absolutely. Is Tana known to be the most considerate verbally person? No. She definitely has a lot of like word vomit type of situations where she just says stuff. So yeah, I actually think out of the whole drama, if we really just pick out bits and bobs, could Tana have left that out of the story? Absolutely. Do I think it's the worst thing she's ever said? No. Do I think it's the worst thing anyone could have ever said? No. But does Ro have every right to be upset about that? If that's how what she chooses, absolutely. She can absolutely be upset about that, because that's obviously a sore point for her. That's, I guess, one area that we can agree on. I also do, from the way that Tana was telling the story, assume that she was using that to be like, oh my god, everything was so insane that day. Like, everything was just like things that I would never think I would hear, say, or partake in. Because that is arguably a very strange thing, right? Someone, like, you don't see that every day. Someone growing a weed plant out of dead ashes, and then that was like ashes of a deceased person, and then smoking it. You don't hear that every day. I've never heard that before. So I think Tana was trying to portray just how, like, chaotic that day was, and there was just so much, like, what happening. But could she have also left it out to be sensitive? Yeah.
Still sensitive about this, but for me, it crossed a line. That's my dad. When you're vulnerable and you open up and you share intimate details about your life with the public, like, you expect random people to be judgmental, but not your friends. It may not be something that they would do, but I wouldn't expect them to be mean or mock me. They were laughing at me and calling me a cannibal. A cannibal? I honestly don't understand why Tana didn't just talk to me, like, if I was annoying her, instead of blasting it on the internet on multiple podcasts. She didn't just go on one podcast. She went on multiple podcasts and mocked me over and over and over again for views.
Also, don't quite. Once again, Ro has every right to feel however she wants to feel about it, because we're all, at the end of the day, human beings who can feel however we want to feel. Whether it's correct or incorrect. Also, feelings aren't correct or incorrect. They're kind of subjective. So we can all have different feelings about situations. Can Ro feel like Tana was going around mocking her? Yes. And it's probably because she's obviously close to the situation that she will feel that way. Me looking from the outside in, I don't feel like Tana was mocking her. I feel like she was using that for like comedic effect, but she wasn't directly mocking Ro for it. Now, Brooke's comment about cannibalism, maybe that was mocking. I think that was a bit more pointed than like what Tana was saying. But once again, I am not the one with the deceased dad with the weed. So I can look at things more objectively and say, I don't think Tana was mocking you. But if you are Ro in that situation, your father passed away and you're very sensitive about it, and this is something you did to bond you and your dad, you might feel like she was mocking. So I'm not saying her feelings are incorrect, but I'm also saying I see where Tana was coming from and also see both sides of the argument, if that makes sense.
She may not understand this, but people have been harassing me since I uploaded the first episode of my podcast, just to give you guys an understanding of some of the judgmental comments that I have.
Now, I think we can skip past this because I've already expressed my opinion about the dad situation, so there's no need to kind of continue that, if that makes sense. Like, I get it. And I get both sides of the argument, basically. Like, that's as nuanced as it's going to get.
About being illegal and a cannibal. And I thought they were sitting together and laughing and making fun of me on her podcast.
I walk in and I love it's 9 a.m. downtown LA and I haven't slept for an hour. And she's telling me about how she just and I podcast about this and then all the comments are like, she's talking about never do that. She's lying. And I'm like, why? Where do you people get off thinking that I would make that up?
I have a text that says that. She texted me that's what she was doing. Yeah.
But after hearing Trisha's response, I believe her. I believe that she wasn't judging me or making fun of me. I'm not upset with Trish. I am upset with Tana. I also told Trish that I was sorry to hear about what happened to her downtown LA because I didn't know that information. She shared her deeper feelings about it, and then I shared my deeper feelings with her. I expressed to her that I grew up in a very poor area with a very high crime rate. And this is something that's sensitive to me too because I was constantly talked down to and treated very poorly for much of my life because of it. So to hear people like Tana talk down about the people who live downtown, as in the rickets of LA, it just brought back a lot of hurt.
You walk in and the production company is all men from like the rickets of Los Angeles.
Tana was talking about them like they were less than. She was saying like, ew, gross, I have to work with people that are from the rickets of LA.
Like, and it was just like very creepy. Like I just, the vibes with every interaction I had with every single person.
A lot of people don't understand where I grew up and how I grew up because it's honestly something that I don't really want to think about. I've worked really hard to get to the place I am now in life and I feel more comfortable opening up about my past. I have many stories about that, but a story that...
Once again, I think we can have a nuanced take here of Rose coming at it from her sensitive, subjective point of view of growing up poor, living in poorer areas. Tana has had bad experiences in downtown LA, and so she is saying, oh, these men, like creepy men from the rickets of LA. And then Trisha Paytas is saying, from her subjective point of view, I've had these bad experiences and therefore I won't go to these areas. Not because I'm prejudiced against those people, but because I've had bad experiences in those areas. All three of them have their own subjective stories and feelings about this case. And they're all technically correct and incorrect at the same time. That's the nuanced take. Is it just is. Like, none of them are correct or incorrect. They just have their own feelings and they accidentally hurt each other's feelings. And then instead of talking about it privately, they've now publicized it, and now we all are talking about it and thinking about it. Now let's skip past this again because like that's my nuanced take and it's not going to change. That's just what it is.
There's so many good people that lived in my community and many other impoverished areas. That is not okay. Check your privilege. I'll end the podcast soon. This has gone on for a while, but I did watch Trisha's response to everything and I could tell that she was really upset about the situation. And as I mentioned before, I wrote her a private apology because I really do care about her as a friend. My whole family genuinely loves her family and I really hope that we can fix things. Also watching the response, I love Moses. I really love Moses. I do disagree with some of what he said, like saying that Tana's stories are entertaining and not serious, just because when she's talking about something so serious like sexual harassment and then all the other things around it are exaggeration and lies, I think it just gets really messy, like messy's the water. And I think that it's fine to be entertaining and embellish things if you're telling a story maybe about like a Thanksgiving dinner with your friends, something more lighthearted, or you're out at dinner or out at a nightclub, or, you know, those things are very harmless. But when you're talking about sexual harassment on your friend's production set and you're slandering the rest of the crew, which can get them fired, they can lose their jobs, their livelihoods, like that's how they feed their family. I think that there does need to be some separation between lies and exaggerating and embellishment and having a serious conversation about a serious topic and a serious issue. That was the point I was trying to make in my first video, and I definitely missed the mark. I'm just going to reiterate it again. When Tana told me what happened to her on set, I believed her. I even said that in my original video, that I'm choosing to believe her, even though she said terrible things about me. Even though she's out there mocking my dead dad, I am still choosing to believe her. I am very...
Once again, this sounds very... I might be nitpicking at this point. I've gone from accusing Ro of nitpicking to then nitpicking myself. But this idea that you have to like and agree with someone to believe them is the reason why a lot of people are not believed. It's the reason why Tana Mongeau is not believed a lot of the time. What Ro's saying right now is, even though she hurt my feelings, I'm choosing to believe her. No, those things should be in spite of each other. It's not a, I don't like her and she hurt my feelings, but I'm choosing to believe her. It should just be a, she hurt my feelings, I believe her. Because you don't have to agree with someone, you don't have to like them, and they can hurt your feelings and you can still believe them, and you don't have to make that correlation there. But it's the way Ro is saying it, of like, why I'm still choosing to believe her even though she hurt my feelings. Like, that's got nothing to do with each other. Her hurting your feelings and her going through a sexual harassment, not related.
Compartmentalizing these things, and I'm doing my best to do so. Quote Tana, 2 things can be true. I believe something terrible happened to Tana. I also know that she slandered an entire crew who were innocent.
Let's read the comments. I still feel as though all this should have been handled offline, in person or over the phone, for professional reasons, but also like, come on, we're adults, we can't rely on videos all the time. Quick question. Would what Tana said actually hurt the employees' livelihood if she never said their names? Because the only person I really know is associated is Joey, and she talked really positively about it. I think if you don't want people to talk about your dad's ashes on the surface the way that they did, maybe change the title. I think it's a moving story when you have the context, but at first glance, it's just that. Shocking and bizarre. That was my first reaction too. That's what I was trying to say and saying throughout this whole video, is Tana's wording of what Ro was saying to Ro seemed like mocking, but Tana was actually just quoting the way Ro has been talking about the situation. Like, literally quoting Ro's first podcast episode title. I smoked my dead dad's ashes. If you name a podcast episode that, and I assume that's how you present that story to people because that's how you named the podcast, then you can't then say that someone else using that same wording is mocking. So why was this not the initial response? Like, this is a very measured and intentional response. What was all that nitpicking attitude in the previous video? Like, deal with this offline. You should have taken the time before you responded to calm down a bit so you don't lose the scope of what you're talking about and end up making yourself look worse than all other parties. I see both sides. I think Tana felt some kind of way after the end of that day, and it probably altered how she viewed everyone's interactions that day, including yours, even though it was fine and hunky-dory in the moment. I think everyone feels strongly about the situation, has different views and perspective. I hope everyone can sit down and talk, even if it's in private, and hear one another out and be okay. It sucks when you lose friends, and the social media BS is not worth losing true friendships. I respect you have strong feelings about defending these people that don't have voices and can't speak for themselves after Tana spoke poorly about the team. We hear you and appreciate your honesty, respect for everyone. I mean, very nuanced takes all around, but that's basically that. But let me know what you guys think. Subscribe, hit the bell icon for engagement, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.